how do you think thought patterns evolve over time?
How do I think thought patterns evolve over time?
Hmm.
Hmm.
So I'll give an example
Yeah.
if you want some time.
No, I just want you to unbox it a bit further
Okay,
for me,
sure
if
thing.
that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So there's this concept of growth mindset, and I talked a little bit about it with Trevor Reagan on my podcast a while ago. I'm not sure whose episode's going to come out first. Maybe this will be an advertisement for the future.
Either way, stay tuned.
Yeah. So something that I talked about with Trevor is the idea of growth mindset, and essentially it's the idea of when we're learning about something, you can have the idea that an individual is fixed in their ability or that they can grow regardless of their current station. So even if you have a kid that has an IQ of, say, 95 compared to a kid of 115, you don't actually understand the full potential of either of those. And by investing in both of them equally, then you're going to grow them both exponentially for their own individual self. And there's this interesting paper where they took the differences between individuals with IQs and measured them against other individuals with a lower IQ but higher trait conscientiousness. And conscientiousness is the trait of hard work, willingness to push through. I talked to Danielle Comrier, and she's a researcher in the area of grit, athletic grit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so grit kind of ties into conscientiousness. And well, yeah, that's right. And so they took these two groups and said, if you have an IQ of 115 or an IQ of 100, but you're like very high in conscientiousness, you can actually do as well as someone that's innately higher in IQ. And so those ideas, that once you learn things like that, then you're able to look at the world a little bit differently. And I think that changes the pattern of thought. And another example that actually I was listening to your podcast with, it was one of your first few episodes, and someone was talking about the idea of just doing something, just do it. And I had heard that a few times before that particular moment, and I had been contemplating for quite a while as to trying to figure out actually how to post on TikTok. I almost called it Vine. So old. And so
no one understands that comparison. I just want to acknowledge that you see that comparison. I brought it up before and people are like, what? I'm like, oh, just me.
They're literally the exact same.
It's the same thing. Yeah. And I loved Vine. Okay, go on.
So,
Sorry.
So what she said was, she was like, just do it, just do it, just do it. And that's always been a mentality that I held. But hearing it that one time, I had 3 drafts, and my idea was to have 4 drafts before I started posting. And I just couldn't make the 4th draft. I kept on procrastinating. And then finally I just heard her say that and was like, God, I just have to do it. Just do it. And then, so that was an example of how my method of thought had changed because of one particular situation. But I think that happens all the time, and kind of in the sense of the growth mindset versus fixed mindset, where you have the opportunity to grow and no individual is fixed in their ability. I think that's another area where when someone hears that and they understand that, I think that completely changes their perspective on learning.
Mm-hmm. And even just like life in general, like I personally, I don't believe in failure. Like I don't think that things can be a failure. Like when you have the growth mindset, it's like, I'm going to learn something from this. And as shitty as times can be, it's like, we're always going to learn. And I don't know, like when an opportunity arises and if I have some interest in like it feels in alignment, it's just like, yes, there can be like, okay, well, what if it doesn't work out, whatever. But it's like, to me, like I don't view it as failure. You're going to learn from it. And I think that is just such an important thing. And we often let the fear of failure get in the way, you know? And I think I completely agree. Once you understand this whole growth versus fixed mindset thing, like it completely changes things. For a long time, I felt that way, but I didn't have the vocabulary for it. And then once I started learning about like that concept, is it concept? Mm-hmm. Sorry, there's some noise outside my building. It just completely changed things for me.